Kristen McVie quotes, Interviewer, do you feel your voice has gotten better with age? Christine, oh yeah. Well, it's not only age, it's experience, isn't it? And practice, you know? Probably stopping smoking helps. All-Star Jams, 2004. Interviewer, what kind of things might you spend your money on? Christine, a diamond ring, you know, a case of Dom Perignon, whatever I fancy, if I can afford it. I bought a Rolls Royce once and lost money on it. Just cause I fancied having a Rolls Royce, and then 6 months later, it felt too sort of weird for me to drive, so I sold that and got a Jeep. Rock and Roll Woman, 1980, discussing her solo career. Christine, actually, there was another album 20 years before that called The Legendary Christine Perfect. Why legendary? I don't know. I mean, number 1, to be a legend, and number 2, to be perfect. I mean... Interviewer, is this when you were with before Chicken Shack? Christine, yeah. Interviewer, really? Christine, oh no, it was shortly after Chicken Shack or during. It was long ago, I can't remember. Interviewer, oh, I want to hear that record. Christine, you don't. Trust me. Hang my head in shame when I think about it. All-Star Jams, 2004. Everyone always thinks Fleetwood Mac's breaking up, except Fleetwood Mac probably. I mean, we know something they don't know. We're not breaking up, and in fact, we're tighter now than we've ever been because of the solo projects. It's really healthy. San Francisco Hot Rock, 1984. On the many previous members of Fleetwood Mac. They all went mad, didn't they? All of them. But they were all guitar players. All-Star Jams, 2004. Interviewer, do you want to have children? Is that possible in rock and roll? Christine, like I say, I'm no spring chicken now, so I mean, I just have no desire to have children myself. I might, as I get to be older, I'd like to adopt some children. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. On meeting Stevie for the first time. Stevie has the most fantastic sense of humor, so she was pretty easy to like. All-Star Jams, 2004. On how In the Meantime came about. I was happily thinking I was retired. I mean, that was why I left Fleetwood Mac originally. It was because I just simply, you know, after 35 years or whatever it is of doing that, I just thought, there's gotta be something else out there, you know? Something else. I wanted to move to England. I was actually obsessed to move to England, and I'd already told the band that this was definitely going to be my last tour. The dance tour, and there was a lot of general kind of people trying to bend my arm and to stay. But I was compelled to come back here, you know, back to England, and nothing would stop me. And I just thought, well, I think I could quite happily be a country lady and just look after dogs, and it's funny how things happen because I suppose it's because what I'd done all my life is suddenly the desire to write songs kind of trickled back into my life again. Not that I really would want to tour or go on the road again or anything, but I think once you've been writing all your life, it's what you do. It's like if you're a sculptor or, I don't know, a banker or whatever it is, you go on doing it, don't you? What else do you do? In the Meantime, EPK, 2004. Asked if she wished she had more solo albums. I'm surprised there's even this one, to be honest with you. In the Meantime, EPK, 2004. On her and John's relationship. It worked for me and John for 7 years, and it took us a good 2 years to get over that within the framework of the band, and fortunately, our relationship hasn't suffered. In fact, we're better friends now than we were when we were married. Rockin' Women, 1980. Discussing recording You Are and subsequently In the Meantime. Yeah, I mean, that was literally written, I think, in about half an hour, and I just put it on a little cassette recorder, and I thought, well, perhaps I should put some drum machine on it or something. You know how things transpire. And so I called Dan, my nephew, and I said, do you fancy putting a bit of acoustic guitar on this? So he came down one afternoon and he did that. Dan's very good with the computer. So as things moved along, we had a lot of fun together, just writing in a very low-key kind of way, and we were getting more of a laugh and fun out of it than anything, which is what it should be. And you know, as the months rolled on, there was getting quite a list of songs together, and we thought, well, shall we make a record? Or what shall we do? In the meantime, EPK 2004. When you consider that there's 3 writers in the band, it doesn't allow you much outlet for your own material, if you only make a few albums as we do. So that works out to about 3 or 4 songs every 3 years, and that's just really not enough for any writer that wants to display their wares. San Francisco, Hot Rock, 1984. I'm not probably most people's idea of an auntie. All-Star Jams, 2004. Interviewer. How difficult is it to maintain a relationship in rock and roll? Christine. Well, I suppose the biggest pressures are if they're not on the road with you, then you're never gonna see them. And then, if they're on the road with you, you get to see too much of them. I mean, I don't know where the happy medium is really. But then again, it makes for good songs, the heartache, you know, the longing for. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. Interviewer, Christine Perfect. I can't believe that's your name. That's crazy last name. Christine. It's kinda nuts. A lot of people used to say to me, is that a stage name? And I used to say, well, how could you imagine I would be that pretentious? All-Star Jams, 2004. Describing friend from In the Meantime. It's a perky little ditty. In the Meantime, EPK, 2004. C sharp, it was in. Yeah, I never play on black notes. So you know, I try and avoid them like the plague, cause my fingers keep slipping off, you know? The white ones are the best for me. I mean, I can play in almost any key as long as it's not a root of a black note. I have a big trouble there. If you know what that is, do you want me to explain that to you? The root of if the root note starts with a black note, then I'm in trouble. But if anything else, I'm fine. If any musicians are out there, they'll know what I mean. Interview, 1982, on moving back to England. I think it was the big earthquake that really did it for me, the one in '94, the big one in LA. And I think that was it, and I just said I have to go back home. Still took me 5 years to finally move back here. In the meantime, EPK 2004. Describing the recording and production of In the Meantime. It was all kind of done arse backwards really, you know? All-Star Jams 2004. Interviewer. Would you recommend rock and roll as a way to be married? Christine. No, not particularly, but I'd give it a second shot if I found somebody I wanted to marry. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. Dan is one of these guitar players that loathes guitar solos, and so do I. I just don't like guitar solos. In the Meantime, EPK 2004. Interviewer. This is the 20th anniversary of Fleetwood Mac. Does that surprise you? Christine. When people say that to us, I think we're surprised. I think that when, like I say, it just seems pretty natural. We're family and we don't see any radical change on the horizon or anything. We're very much a part of each other's lives, you know? We're very much linked together by this entity called Fleetwood Mac. Interview, 1987, on rejoining Fleetwood Mac. I felt really at home and I just felt like a family on stage. It was just great. Today, October 2014. Interviewer. And what are the disadvantages of being a woman in rock and roll? Christine. Being harassed when you don't want to be harassed. But then again, you figure if you're not harassed, you're in big trouble, you know? Rock and Roll Women, 1980. I don't think we're really aware of it at the time, until it was more or less completed, and then John, I think, made some reference to it sounding like a bunch of rumors, and I think that's how we ended up calling that album that. And the end result was just very moving when you listen to it back to back. Everything strung together as it was, like something of a diary. Interviewed in 1988, featured in Fleetwood Mac, Don't Stop, 2009. The first time I met Stevie, I decided that I liked her a lot, you know, and your wit and charm, your je ne sais quoi. And you know, I mean, that was the stipulation that Mick and John made when Stevie and Lindsay first joined the band was, well, Chris, how do you feel about having another girl in the band? Cause I'd been in Fleetwood Mac for 8 years before, you know, before Stevie and Lindsay joined, and they said to me, well, if you don't like the girl, we'll have neither of them. Fleetwood Mac on tour, MTV Special, 1988. On what meaning she takes from the chain. Well, it's funny that Stevie brought me a bracelet not long ago which was a chain, and I wore it around my wrist and it broke, so I had somebody tie it on. which really means that the chain is never gonna break again. Today, October 2014. Women rock and rollers don't go off with male groupies. I mean, it just simply isn't done, you know? I mean, not in our band it isn't. You just give them their autograph and send them on their way. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. It's hard to say something nice about everybody. I can't. Interview, 1982. Male groupies? Yeah, but they're usually 18 and spotty, so I mean, I ignore them. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. On her return. God, I'm really actually on this black carpet with these fantastic musical friends of mine and all just really enjoying it, you know? Really enjoying it. CBS Sunday, 2014. I just think that the inexplicable chemistry between the five of us, which will never go away because it just is what it is, you know? Until you're 90, it'll be there. No matter how far we go apart. You know, different spheres of music. When we get together, it's just something that you know, sparks fly. Fleetwood Mac, Going Home, 1993. Interviewer, Christine, what are the advantages of being a woman in rock and roll? Christine, same advantages as being a man in rock and roll. Money, prestige, interesting people to meet. I don't see it being any different for women as it is for men, really. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. On Jeremy Spencer. I thought Jeremy Spencer was a cheeky little bugger if you want to know the truth. I mean, you know, he was funny little guy, but oh boy, he used to drive me crazy. He was a great musician. Interview, 1982. In the musical environment, I hadn't worked with another girl, you know? But when I met her, I instantly liked her. Not because she was like me, quite the contrary. We're actually unlike me and Stevie. We are complete opposites at the ends of the personality spectrum. Interview in 1988. Featured in Fleetwood Mac, Don't Stop, 2009. On relationships. They're incestuous. It's ridiculous. In the nicest possible way, I mean. It just always seems to end up that, because we never meet anybody else, we always end up going out with people that are an integral part of the band. Rock and Roll Women, 1980. Christine interviews herself backstage during the Rumors tour. Christine, how long have you been in Fleetwood Mac? Oh, about 8 years. How did you feel before Stevie joined the band about being the only girl in the band? Oh, fine, thanks, great. How did you feel when Stevie joined the band? Oh, great. How do you get on with Stevie? Fine, thank you, just great, just great. Interviewer, how do you really get on with Christine? Actually, I think she's a real pain in the neck. I can't stand. Interviewer, Stevie, you can walk in now. Christine, laughs. Hi, Stevie. How is it now that you and John have split? I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk about you. You know, a lot of separations going on in the band. I mean, is it difficult working with your ex-husband? No. It's, you know, we had a lot of problems to start with, but finally we worked them out and everything is just wonderful. Hunky dinkum dorum, as they say. Peachy, as they say, to coin a phrase. Laughs. Do you have any new concepts for the new album? Not particularly. Laughs. Go on. You must know some more of them. Interviewer, yeah, 'cause I asked you one of them. Christine, go on, repeat. Interviewer, do you ever write songs before you do the albums, or do they all come to you while you're doing the album? Christine, pass. Laughs. Interviewer, you can't remember what you said in the film. Christine, I can't be bothered to go through the repartee. The next one is, and the next question, how does that feel, being a sex symbol in rock and roll? I don't know. Ask Stevie Nicks. Laughs. Background. Oh ho, Farrah Fawcett Nicks. There has got to be some heavy editing on this tape. Christine. No, listen. Stevie. She's gotta know I'm joking. She knows I'm kidding. Backstage footage of Rumors tour in Japan, 1977. On how In the Meantime came about. It was an accident, yeah. I don't actually know what I'm doing here, to be honest with you. This is all very strange because I'm supposed to be retired. I fell in love with a chap and I wrote a song for him and, and then As you can tell later on in the song, I fall out with the chap, and so it's sort of a song, an album about the emotions that I felt during that relationship, which ended up, with forgiveness. All Star Jams, 2004.